All right, Alex.
What you seeing?
I got 122 flag, 107 front, uphill.
I'm excited.
Hello, friend. My name is Scott Epstein, also known as Scottie the Caddie, and welcome to the Links in Lifestyle podcast. I'm grateful to be here and thankful that you're taking the time to listen. Special topic and share this week. I hosted 12 of my men from my AA community for a dinner and fireside chat at my home. I want to share some details about my sobriety journey and just how meaningful my AA community is to me. Let's grab a zero sugar, half and half Snapple and discuss it. I had my first experiences drinking and smoking pot in my senior year of high school. Where I grew up, it was definitely around. I wouldn't describe it as being super prevalent, but it was there. Peer pressure and desire to fit in existed, but was not a key driver for me. It really wasn't until college in my University of Florida years that was a party. That was a lot of fun at the time. Smoking, drinking. My college roommate Raymond, who's not with us anymore, who I've discussed. In fact, we recently watched our wedding video, actually since the last episode, and I wasn't prepared for Raymond to be on the screen in a couple different scenes, and it hit me pretty hard. Chasing girls, being part of a fraternity, football games, women's volleyball games was one of my favorites. 2000, I started my Wall Street career. Inside of that was lots of partying. I was a daily pot smoker. Summers at the Jersey Shore, headliners, bar A, DJs, you name it. Raging, dancing. The wedding we went to last week, I brought back some good memories of dancing and what those Saturday nights used to be like. I had a DUI in 2001, and amongst my group of friends, it was probably the best thing that could have happened. We were not very smart or mature back then. It's a blessing that I'm still around today. And all through those years, I had a younger brother, 6 years younger, who from the age of 14 was introduced, to drugs and alcohol, in large part by me, which messed me up for a long time. Brian passed away in 2019. He and I were clean in our relationship, and I was sober at the time. And amongst the things I've learned in my journey is that, drugs and alcohol kill every day. And some people die as a result. They don't figure it out and they don't get there. Wall Street, as I was mentioning, ups and downs. Our kids were born 2006, 2008, 2009. I spent these years, numb. I worked hard. I was married. I enjoyed the kids, but I was a habitual daily pot smoker. And, when I drank, one or two was never enough. I was a totally different person back then. Gambling, firing on all sorts of sports bets, casinos. The good, everyone was healthy and growing. Melissa and I were married, working through life, 3 kids. At the time, we had plenty of money. Life was good. The bad. Post 2009, when I left Wall Street, I struggled. I couldn't find my way. We got involved in multiple businesses. We built a network marketing company. I wish I'd gotten into caddying back then in 2009 instead of 14. And we had gotten into deep debt, which Melissa and I are going to talk about. Our marriage was rocky. I was not the best listener. I was not as present as I could have and should have been for a lot of reasons. And New Jersey life was hard. And it took me a long time to get out of having a victim mentality. I was always the victim. Everything was always someone else's fault. And it wasn't until some strong men in my life gave me the blessing and hard truths that, I was not the victim, right? Other people were the victim, and, my stuff was my fault. As I've shared before, in 2014, I reached the point that it was just time to stop. I stopped smoking pot first. I started having panic attacks. It wasn't good, and I stopped that. There was one moment in particular with Melissa where I thought my heart was literally going to beat out of my chest, and it was pretty scary. And later in 2014, like I said, when I started caddying, I decided to stop drinking, and I just kind of sprung it on Melissa. It was late August, and I was just like, hey, we didn't really talk about it. I'm just like, I think I'm going to stop. and start going to meetings. There wasn't really much dialogue around it. And, she supported it. She was fine with it. But I think in some ways she didn't really know, what I was dealing with. And I was not always the best sharer with her. In early sobriety, I went to daily meetings, had a sponsor, felt great, was coachable. And more than anything, I was hungry to learn and to get better. When we moved here to South Carolina in 2018, at that point in my sobriety, I wasn't regularly going to meetings. I wasn't drinking, but I wasn't thinking properly, and my way of living was not joyous, happy, and free, which is one of those things we talk about in sobriety. In 2021, I was introduced by the consistent nudging of a friend to start going to a Monday night men's meeting. That's become my home group and helped transform and create the life I live today. There's incredible sobriety everywhere. Bluffton, where we are now, is certainly a melting pot of people, for the most part, that are not from this area. So you've got Midwest, West Coast, East Coast, and it's just, for me, it's just a special group and has really worked for me. As an offshoot of that meeting, a book meeting on Wednesday nights started, and it's much more intimate. There's anywhere from like 8 to 12 of us, and it's really cool. So we got some audio visual tools this week. The first book we studied was Drop the Rock, which is steps 6 and 7, which are be entirely ready to have God remove all defects of character. And step 7, humbly request that God remove personal shortcomings. We then jumped into the ripple effect, which builds on that and just adds in step 10, which states you continue to take personal inventory and admit when you were wrong. And lastly, we're literally concluding The Steps We Took by Joe McHugh, which takes an in-depth look at the 12 steps. And the Wednesday night meetings for me has just been magic. And a lot of the men in the room feel the same way. It's amazing. It's what I call a mask down setting where we can really, be vulnerable, be honest, take our masks off. It's an intimate, safe space to really share what's going on in our lives. Monday nights and other meetings that might have 20 or 30 people, you have the opportunity to hide out and not share, or in some cases not be super comfortable sharing what's really on your heart and what's going on. Some nights when we have the meeting, we may only, read once or twice and then just share the whole time. I liken it to my men's team experiences, which I've talked about before when I was up in New Jersey. Just, again, a space where we're friends, but we're not friends. We hold each other accountable. We listen, and it's just safe, and it just works. And it's one of the things that I'm grateful to have in my life, and frankly, everybody should. So fast forward to last week when we had the barbecue and hosting of my men. I planned it a month out. I've sent the guys a lot of different videos and pictures of me grilling, and, I've wanted to feed them. And like I said, they're from all walks of life, different areas of the country. There's one man in the group that's got 9 months sober, and there's others that have 30 plus years, older guys, younger guys. I got to show them and welcome them into my home. Burgers, ribeyes, strips, asparagus, onion rings, risotto, and dessert. Men asked what they could bring, and I said nothing. A favorite man in my life in New Jersey, who's an extremely successful and well-off guy, is incredibly generous, always opens his home to us, and doesn't want anything. And for me, especially working in the service industry, I've always been very generous, right? Even when I didn't have a lot, whether it was tipping or wanting to treat or be nice to people. That's just something that's always suited me and something that I've always done. I brought Alex out to Secession last week, and he gave me a really nice compliment, which I didn't expect. He said he was really proud, and it really showed him, it was really cool how I welcomed those men into my home and really wanted to take care of them, feed them, have a great time. And so, Alex, who I've spoken of, and all the kids, just has a really high social quotient and just gets it. And the girls came home that night and both introduced themselves to everybody and were very comfortable doing so. And the men recognized that and gave me a compliment for that as well. I was beyond fired up to take care of my people, my community, guys that have my back and impact me in ways that frankly can't be measured or quantified. We then had cigars around the fire. We all shared about life and how impactful Wednesday nights have been for us and where we're heading. It was a special, special night for me. It was a gift for me in so many ways. We're heading up to New Jersey this week for the summer. I'm going to stay connected to both of those meetings, at least 1.5 times a month. Plug in via Zoom, be part of it. Again, maintain those relationships, stay plugged into what's going on in people's lives. And, by the grace of God and technology, I have the ability to do so. So let's put a bow on sobriety, and in particular, my sobriety. It's such a gift, right? For me and many others, nothing in my life is possible without my sobriety. If I'm not sober and doing the things that I'm supposed to do, I can't show up and do anything. And part of that, and what I've learned, is it's all about helping others. Matita Conk member reached out to me and shared that he's going through some stuff, and has leaned into me and shared that with me, which felt really good. Melissa advised me not to share it at the time, but earlier in the secession season, one of the guys who doesn't regularly go to meetings, which is fine. Everyone's program is different, but he celebrated an anniversary, and I had offered to get him, a chip or a token, and he said yes. So I was able to get it, through our meeting, and presented it to him with his other closest friend one day before we went out, and it was very, very special, right? It was really, really cool. It was a great moment for all of us for a number of reasons, and again, just the gifts of this program and sobriety. Sobriety and addiction is one of those things that it doesn't matter who you are, or how old you are, or how much money you have. It's completely irrelevant. You can create a totally different and better life, but it takes work and it takes action. And that goes for any habit that we're looking to improve or get rid of. I've said it before, right? Choose your heart. You can continue behaviors that are not serving you, or do something about them. In some ways, it's a lot like golf, and it's a lot like life. If you're enjoying the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, share on the platform you're watching or listening. The algorithm continues to just be the algorithm. Big finish. Win for the week. Challenge. Bible verse. Win. Hosting my men, my community, my people. In general, I take care of people and love on people, and that's especially true of people that take care of me. So take care of those people in your networks, listeners. Challenge. We're getting ready to push off to New Jersey, leaving the kids, leaving the dogs. Melissa's heading up with me, so we'll have a few days together, but ultimately she's, she and I are parting ways for a while as well. It's hard. I'll be honest. It's, there's things, I enjoy the time in New Jersey. I'm not going to lie. I have friends that I get to see, and work up there is great. And, Matita Conk holds a special place in my heart. It's where I got sober, among other things. But it's gotten harder as the kids have gotten older, especially as we're pushing towards empty nesters. I send them videos every day. We talk very frequently, but I'll send them money. The girls love me giving them money, but it's hard, and it gets harder with each year. So my challenge is just getting ready to do that. Last up, Bible verse from Proverbs 11, verse 25, and this is in line with what I did, with the men. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. When we live with a generous heart, we cultivate relationships and build community. It could be time, it could be money, volunteering, hosting. No act can be too small or insignificant. When we engage in acts of kindness, we feel good about ourselves, leading to a positive change in our own well-being and outlook on life. In giving, we receive a sense of fulfillment and happiness. Man, is that true. We should also remember that our motivations for generosity matter. I used to give to get, which I've talked about before. If we give solely for recognition or boasting, that undermines true generosity. Instead, we're called to give out of selflessness and humility. In giving quietly and sincerely, We align ourselves with biblical values and divine principles. Just tremendous, right? Just generosity, no matter who you are or where you're at, is possible. And it will not only make me feel better, but it'll make you and whomever you're being generous to feel great as well. Thank you for listening. We'll see you up in New Jersey. God bless.